Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you with the New Mutants #2. And this book was a pain to find. Looked all over my local comic shop, checked out the online auctions that I always talk about. Nothing. So finally, I found out that Amazon sells comic books. So when, my normal resources are not available, you can either do like Midtown Comic, etc., so forth, but it's like, why not check out Amazon? And I found this. It's in decent condition. You can see that there's blemishes, but I'm happy to have this book. It was a good read. And a lot better than a majority of the X books that are printed nowadays. Now, the print date on this was April 1982. This is Chris Claremont writing, Bob McLeod, penciler, Mike Gustafsky, inker, Glynis Wine, colors, Tom Orzanowski, letterer, Louis Simonson, or Louis Jones, editor, and Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. So, all-star cast. And, of course, the New Mutants were created by Chris Claremont and Bob McLeod. And we open up and just look at this visually stunning page by the art team. Great penciling, coloring, inking. Just really adds to the dynamicness and terror that is in young Danielle Moonstar's face. So, you find out that she is in the danger room. And Danny is resourceful. She's trying to figure out how she can, sort of like how with like the holodeck, where, let's scale along the walls and see what we can find. But she's tired, trying to get away from that beast. And she finds herself face to face with one of the brood. But before we can even get into any of that, we got to skip some ads. And we jump to the local mall. Let's go to the mall. I love that song. Anyway. And what's funny is they just come to watch E.T. So, they're like, you didn't really think E.T. was a mutant, did you? And Rain's like, I've never been to a movie before. It was so magical. So seeing it through the eyes of someone new is just really awesome. And so here, again, a lot of these members like Shane and Rain have never really got to interact with people their age because their life has sadly been surrounded by tragedy. So they actually start to hit it off. And so it's really kind of neat to see, like, for example, she's like, I like your hair. It's like, is it punk or new wave? And she goes, I'm Scots. So just really cool little moments like that. So again, like Claremont always said, human-related drama. And that's what happens here, is we're focusing and getting depth on the characters. And then we kind of start to get into more plot development, which you're thinking, oh my God, that's a lot of reading. But again, it's not like exposition dumps or like lame jokes or just conversation that leads nowhere. This is between Henry Geinrich and Sebastian Shaw. And it starts to lead up to what is going to be happening in this book. And at this point, Geinrich is unaware that Shaw is a mutant, or his dealings within the Hellfire Club, or the fact that, spoiler alert here, that Robert DaCosta's father, Emmanuel DaCosta, is part of the Hellfire Club. So he's thinking he can get DaCosta on his side and start to bring in Robert to start grooming him. Now Stevie, she was a ballet dancer, taught Kitty, but now she works at Xavier's school. And she meets this stranger who you're thinking this is some sort of kidnapping, but it's one of those moments where, yeah. Now, again, New Mutant starting to kind of meet some new friends, starting to hang out, like, hey, we're having a dance. You should come and check it out, because these kids go to local school, and and then the mutants are talking about how they go to Xavier's, but they all start to mingle and stop feeling like, Xavier's school's for elitists, etc., so forth. But when I was reading this, what I was more interested in is, why are they out of vanilla? That is not okay. So these G-men come up and saying that they want to arrest Bobby and Sam. And right there, DaCosta, being the hothead, really wants to take him out and like, this is the mall, let's just go. This is Shen talking, because she's kind of the oldest, so everyone looks up to her. And again, I like how everyone follows her lead and wants to take her cue. So she's like, I'm hoping I'm not doing the wrong thing. Well, some things happen that relate to Stevie and the stranger that looked like it took her. And we see this car coming at Sunspot. And look at the dynamic of this panel. It just boom. And you see Shen using her powers. Just a great display of the mutants taking out the bad guy. Now, after that, everything turned into a full tilt battle against the Sentinels. Now, to me, this was kind of a culture shock because, again, I grew up with the animated series. That's where I got into the X-Men. So I'm used to seeing the X-Men and the mutants, the Sentinels in that regard. So seeing them blue like this, it always kind of throws me for a loop. And I just love how Cannonball just takes off out of the parking garage and takes this flippin' Sentinel down. But again, what I like is even though the team seems like they're kicking butt, you can see that they're not used to their powers, that they're still kind of green or wet behind the ears. Where, DaCosta realizes he has to get out of the parking structure to be powered up by the sun. And the Sentinels saying bioscans indicate target is insufficient strength to damage this unit. He's like, you forgot one thing, pal. And we get some beautiful artwork here, just the way it smashes through the wall. And Bobby says, that robot remains to be seen. You fail to consider human force of will and determination. And I just love how we get these panels on the side with the splash page there. Very well done. And I miss when there was comic shops in the mall. The Fandom Zone, comic books and paperbacks. That'd been really cool. And there's a few back in my hometown, but they shut down as quick as they started, which was always heartbreaking. So anyway, the book overall, again, it's not one of those big event books or first appearances, but just seeing how the mutants interact with each other, the team starting to learn one another, still unsure of their powers, and the people that they meet, and how you can see that these people are warm individuals that are willing to let people into their lives. And the whole thing that kind of revolves around the Sentinels is how Shin said, Xavier said we could trust our government. But you kind of find out that that is the opposite of what the Sentinels are saying here, and what we find out behind the scenes with Shaw and Geinrich. And again, you don't get a whole lot with Danny, and this is what I always liked, how we always take a little interlude to say, okay, this is going to be happening down the line. And you can see the terror in Danny's face as the New Mutants get back home. And Stevie starts to wonder who else would have access to the danger room other than herself, Moira McTaggart, and Xavier. Now, there's a reason for this. I don't want to give it away because it's the next beats for the next book. And you're just thinking, oh my goodness. And as you close the book, it's sort of a dun, dun, dun. So even though you got action, still, the book focuses on the characters, and that's what's important. Each personality is on display, how Sam's a southerly gentleman. Rain, shy, because she was sort of sequestered majority of her life, but you start to see her flourish and open. Same with Shin, where she knew tragedy and heartbreak coming to the States. But she's still able to put that aside and see the good in people, especially with what Xavier's instilled in her. DaCosta, the hothead, who wants to just beat these G-men down, but starting to learn to rein his temper in and work as a team. Character-driven drama with great action underneath to make for one heck of a good book. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. It really helps this club channel out more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little mutant bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we'd love to hear your feedback and talk with y'all down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down below. And with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.